Hello and welcome to Airgun Hub. Today we're going to be looking at the FX Wildcat. This is going to be a combined video on the Airgun Hub and Sportsguns YouTube channel, so you can also go across to the Sportsguns YouTube channel and find this video on there as well. Enjoy! So as you probably guessed by now, we're going to be looking today at the FX Wildcat. This is a personal rifle of mine, one I've just acquired in the past sort of 3 or 4 weeks. And now I've got out with it as much as I possibly can. I've got to know it, got used to it, and we'll go for a review of it. So as you can see, this is the synthetic version. You can also get these in the Walnut and Laminate versions. This one retails at $9.99 at Sportsguns, which is where I bought it from. Top guys there, if you do want anything from them, give them a shout. I'll leave a link in the description to them. Mike at Sportsguns, a top guy, and Sportsguns will deliver anywhere in England and Wales. I'm not endorsed by them or anything, I just thought they deserved the shout out because I always get a top quality service from them. So yeah, $9.99 for the synthetic version. I believe the Walnut is about $11.50 to $1200. And I think the Laminate's about $1400. So the Laminate and the Walnut do command a lot higher price over the synthetic. But as you can see, this is the synthetic version. It does feel really nice. Now, one thing that I do like about this, it's not a cheap plastic. It has got a textured, almost rubber feel to it. It helps with grip. I can imagine if you had wet hands or anything like that. With a normal synthetic stock, you might feel a bit slippy or hard to hold, whereas with this having almost like a rubberized texture on it, it's really grippy. Even with gloves on, I think you'd have the best grip in the world on this. Obviously it also does have contoured finger grooves for your fingers, which helps with the grip a lot more as well. Okay, so starting at the rear of the rifle, we've got the nice rubber butt pad. It is non-adjustable, but it does feel nice in the shoulder. It's nice and soft, so you don't feel any recoil. Not like the recoils anyway, because we're talking about a PCP rifle here. But it is very comfortable in the shoulder. Moving up, we've got the safety. Now this safety will only engage into safe once the rifle is cocked and has a pellet in the breech ready to shoot. Otherwise, it will not go all the way into safe. There was a few remarks about the earlier versions of these with the safety not being very... Not feeling like it's getting into safe, not feeling like you get a positive click into safe and a positive click into fire. I don't seem to have that problem, but mine's one of the newer models. I say I've only owned it for the past 3 or 4 weeks, and it does seem positive in my opinion. I'd feel comfortable that when it isn't safe, it feels like it's going to stay in safe, and likewise for fire. Okay, so we're just going to take a slightly different angle now to talk about the magazine and how it loads. Hopefully you can see from this angle. Now the magazine slots in here. To release the magazine, you just cock the rifle and the magazine pings out. And all the magazine uses is just a spring-loaded ball bearing on either side, which holds it in place. There's no slotting it into any grooves or anything like that, which makes it very easy to pull out and put back in again. Now it is an 8-shot rotary magazine, and around the edges you can see it's just got little indexing grooves. Now what happens is inside there's a little arm that when you cock the rifle, it just pushes against these little grooves, indexing grooves, and rotates the magazine every time it's cocked. As you can see, it's just took the paint off where it catches and turns the magazine in there. Once you've loaded your pellets, you just slot it back in, and it, as I say, it literally pushes in. You have to rotate it slightly, and then your cocking arm moves back forward again, and it's ready to shoot. And as I said about the safety, as you see now, it now will ping into safe. That's because obviously the rifle is now cocked and live and ready to shoot. And as you can see, and probably hear, that's a very, very positive safety. Now, as I said, there was rumours about the safety not being very good before. Now, whether they've altered that in the newer versions and upgraded it to feel a bit more positive, I don't know, but I think it's sounding very positive as it is. Now, the biggest advantage on this rifle is the fact that the cocking arm, the cocking lever, is further up the gun than most other bullpups. I'd say 95% of other bullpups, which is nearly all of them with the exception of a couple, the cocking lever is right on the breech where it would be on a conventional rifle, either on the rear or obviously created on the side because your cheek's right up here. Now, the advantage of that, and one of the reasons I like the Wildcat, is it makes it far, far easier to cock the rifle and keep your cheek on the rest and your line of sight down the scope, so you never really have to adjust your grip or anything like that. You can literally take your hand off, cock it, push it forward, and you're ready to shoot again, and you've barely moved anywhere, and you're right on point of aim yet again. Now, it's ideal for any follow-up shots if you're out in the field shooting game or vermin, and it also helps if you're just target shooting, really. Obviously you want to be keeping on aim as much as possible with very little movement, and with the cocking arm being forward compared to other rifles, that helps massively. It is connected by a little rod. I don't know if you can see that silver rod there, and that connects it all the way down to the breech. It is very, very smooth in my opinion. I have got a Crow as well, puncher breaker, that I've got on test, and even though the cocking lever is back here on the Crow, it's very, very stiff. I would expect this one to be stiffer with it being further away. However, it's very, very light and very, very smooth. Also, while we're here, we'll talk about the trigger. Obviously, with it being a conventional bullpup, the trigger is a lot more forward in compared to the position of where it would be, i.e. here, on a normal rifle where the stock would extend backwards. Now again, this is connected by another rod that runs on the inside here up to the block, and again, it is very, very, very light. I've not adjusted mine out of the box. I think it's perfect the way it is. Although if you were to take the stock off via the little screw there and the one just there, take the stock away, there is some adjustment screws to adjust the first and second stage and travel, lightness, etc. It is a fully adjustable two-stage trigger. But as I said, out of the box, it's perfectly fine for me. It's got a nice little take up until you feel the second stage, and then the smallest of movements, and that releases and your shot's away. Now, moving more to the front of the rifle, or the centre as we speak at the minute, we do have a full rail on top. Obviously this is forward of the breech with it being a bullpup, and this rail, I'll try and show you, and if you can see that, has got an 11mm rail on top, and it also does have a 20 or 21mm rail as well, so you can use whichever mounting scope brackets you want. As long as you're 20mm deep enough to get around and over the top of the 11mm, you can use either or. I've got 11mm on mine at the minute, just it's because the scope mount that I had lying around. Moving forward, I've added a bipod onto mine. Obviously I've had to drill the stock for that, but it just helps with laying down resting or bench resting when you want to shoot, but that's irrespective of the rifle. Now at the front here you do have your field where your field pro goes, sorry. Now this just twists around, it does come off as well, and it does expose the gauge, which you can see through the front, which I'll show you in a second. But just to prevent any dust getting in or anything like that, you can turn that and it obviously closes off so you don't get dust. And it is a quick fill, so you just put in your filling adapter, fill up to your required pressure. I think these are rated for 220 cc's of bar pressure, sorry. And then I'll just show you on the front if we can see it. You do have, if you can see that, there we go, just a little fill pressure gauge there, just so you know what fill you're at. Now this does have a fully shrouded barrel. It is a working shrouded barrel. a working shroud, should I say. Obviously the shroud doesn't extend past there, but it does here. Now the barrel actually itself, if you were to take the shroud off, actually stops around there, which gives you about 2.5 to 3 inches worth of shrouded cavity. Now what I have done with mine is I got in touch with Effective Tuning, and I got a baffle kit for mine, which just takes away some of the thud at the front end, and it does help a lot. But these are very, very quiet anyway out the box. Depending on what you're using it for, whether you're using it for hunting or target shooting, or target or plinking, whatever you want to say, you could get away with not having any shrouded baffles in there. It says it's already quiet as it is, but I've just put the baffles in because I do go out vermin hunting as well for squirrels and pigeons, so it just helps take away that thud. Now the eagle-eyed amongst you might have also noticed some of the writing on the side of the block there. One of the predominant ones is the smooth twist. Now if we just zoom back out, and we'll just talk about smooth twist. So what is smooth twist? Smooth twist is a technology that's being used by FX airguns, and what it effectively is what it says. The barrel itself is a smooth bore barrel right into the last 2 or 3 inches, of which then the barrel itself, not the internal barrel, but the whole barrel is twisted, which adds what would effectively be the rifling of the barrel. So obviously for the first, the barrel's back here, maybe this much, your pellet is travelling down a smooth bore barrel, and then maybe this section here is what's twisted and adds the spin to your pellet as it leaves the barrel to give it the stability in flight. It's a new technology, or a relatively new technology, that FX are implementing into all their air guns. It's mainly found in the Wildcat and also the FX Impact, and it just goes against conventional rifling really, where the whole barrel's rifled. It works just as effectively as a fully rifled barrel does, and I'm still getting pellet on pellet at my zero, which is 25 yards, and also I have seen these out to 50 yards. I don't shoot out to 50 yards that much, but out to 50 yards they're getting under 1/2 inch groups. Now one thing I have seen and read about these rifles, and the barrels in particular, FX, is they test every single barrel that they produce there, and what they do is they put it in a slave block that's crimped into a vise, and then they fire 5 to 10 pellets through it at 20 meters and 50 meters. And if at 50 meters it's not achieving at least under a 1/2 inch group at 50 meters, the whole barrel's scrapped and they don't use it. Which effectively means that every single FX rifle that comes out the factory, the barrel in particular, should be at least shooting 1/2 inch groups at 50 yards, which is amazing really. I say I normally shoot to 30, 40 yards at the most, which is all I really need when I'm out in the field, and I'm getting almost pellet on pellet at them distances. If you've got a steady aim and you can take it out further, then you're going to get some substantial groupings there. One thing to also take note of these rifles is they use a floating hammer, or a free floating hammer, and what that effectively is unlike other air rifles that use a hammer that's always under spring tension. So when it's not cocked, it's still under spring tension and it's being pushed forward. When it's cocked, obviously the hammer comes backwards and it's under spring tension. When the trigger's pulled, it flies forward and stays under spring tension. Now what this means is when the hammer flies forward, you get a hammer bounce, and that bounce is hitting the valve over and over and over. Now your initial hit obviously releases your air used to fire the pellet, and then each substantial or bounce after that, you just get a small release of air every single time. Now what the Wildcat uses is obviously the free floating hammer system, and what that means is while the rifle's not cocked, it's loose, it moves around, you can hear it, you can shake the rifle, we'll do that, you should be able to hear it. I don't know if you can pick that up, but you could hear the barrel, the hammer there, and it's not under spring tension while it's cocked. It's only under spring tension when the rifle is cocked, which means that the spring tension comes on when it's cocked, the trigger's released, or the trigger's pulled, and the hammer flies forward, it hits the valve, but then because it's not under spring tension anymore, there's no bounce on that hammer into the valve. It literally hits and bounces away, which means you get no hammer bounce and no loss of air. And with that, these are producing well over 200 shots per fill. I haven't counted yet, but I know that I got a very substantial amount of magazines out of mine before, from a 230 bar fill right down to about 100 bar. I think looking at stuff online and reading online, you're looking around the 240 to 260 shots per fill, which is absolutely amazing. I can take this out in the field to have an hour's plinking or sit down shooting some vermin, and I don't have to take my bottle with me. I've only got a small 3 litre dive bottle, but I don't need to take it with me. I can fill it up before I leave, and I can have enough shots to keep me going for an hour or two's worth of shooting and come back and not have to worry about filling up, which means I don't have to lug a big bottle around with me. If you're one of these guys that carries around a 12 litre bottle or a big bottle, and you're using something that only achieves 60 shots, and you're having to lug your barrel around with you, your bottle around with you to fill up every so often. With this, there's no need. You fill up before you leave, you go on your session shooting, you come back and you've got enough air to go for your whole session. Now you can get these in 3 calibers, 177, 22 and 25. The only difference being is the 25 does have a longer cylinder on it, which matches more up to the length of the barrel of the shroud you see now. But apart from that, just the 3. This version's 177. I don't have a preference in which calibre I prefer, but 177 for me is just, it's easier, it's a flatter trajectory. So that's why I use 177. So that's the FX Wildcat. If you did like the video, let me know. Leave me a comment. If I have forgot something or there is something you wish to know that I may have missed out of the video, which I probably have, drop it in the comments below. But yeah, this is the FX Wildcat. Next week we'll be looking at the Crow, Puncher Breaker, and then what I might also do is a comparison video of the two. Obviously with the Wildcat being what you'd call a top end budget, being at £1,000, and the Crow being at a budget Bullpup at around the sort of 450, 500 mark. So I'll do a comparison video on the two, but if you did like this video, give it a thumbs up for me. Give it a share, give me a subscribe, and leave the comments down in the comments below. Let me know what you thought. Thank you.